Page 24, Brahms' Cradle Song. It was a very famous melody by Brahms, and it's a nice little arrangement. Let's go through my process for learning a new piece of music, and I have a few things I'd like to talk about here. It's 1 page long, treble and bass clef, no sharps or flats in the key signature. We're in the key of C major. I want to talk about that key signature thing. See, we've had no sharps or flats is C major, 1 sharp is G major, 1 flat is F major, and 2 sharps is D major. We keep getting in these key signatures. Well, I want to introduce you here to a scale. Now, I can't tell whether this author ever deals with scales or not, but I'm a big believer in scales, so I'm going to introduce them here and encourage you to do that. I have videos on all the scales, arpeggios, and all that stuff. I'll put a link in the description of each of these videos from now on, I hope, for all of those, where you can bookmark the playlist for scales, whatever you need, and you can bookmark up the playlist for this book is also in the description. You can bookmark that. That way when you go to it day after day, you can just go right to the playlist and go where you need to. But here it's like no sharps or flats, C major. All right, now you need to go find my scale on C major in that playlist for scale, musical scales. You watch the first video on the introduction to scales, how I teach them, how I approach them, and then you do the beginner portion of that video for C major. It's just learning it 1 octave up and down. You're learning the notes in the scale, which are all the notes in the key signature, and the fingering for it, because we don't really do much crossing over the thumb yet, but we're going to need to get into that, and the scale forces you to do that. You have to cross over the thumb on the 3rd finger. We need to start getting into that. So you do the trill exercise. It's really important that I have in that video, and start working on the scale. Don't spend a lot of time on it, just a few minutes. The first time you sit down to practice of a day, you just run through the scale, the trill exercise, and the whole bit, and then go on. People ask me, why should I do the scales if I got them in the music? And I'm not sure I even want to answer that, because I used to ask the same question myself. Why should I bother with the scales? The stuff is in the music. Why don't I just learn it in the music? And it wasn't until I experienced it myself that I understood. Because just having somebody explain it to me, oh, sure, well, you don't know what you're talking about. But having experienced it, now I know that once you know the scales and you're comfortable and familiar with playing the scales, the physical moving around, it makes playing the music just a whole lot easier. It really does. But trying to just use the music to learn the motions, you struggle learning the music. So let's work on the scales and get those, and that will lay the foundation for playing these pieces. And you do the scale for the key signature of the piece you're working on. This is in C major, do the C major scale. Now, back to the ranch. Let's see what we got going on here. This is in 3/4 time. It's got a pickup measure at the beginning, so we're coming in on beat 3. That means the first 2 beats should be someplace else, and they are. They're at the bottom. The last measure has 2 counts in it. So, okay. We're moving around a little bit, so let's just cover it one hand at a time and make sure we understand what each hand is doing first. Starting with the right hand, I'm here. It looks like I'm here. But when you're looking at the notes trying to figure out a fingering, you got to look further into the piece to see what other fingers are involved. And if I look at over the 2nd full measure in the 8th note, I see there's a 2. I'm actually here. So instead of here, I'm here. So this is the actual fingering at the beginning. So I'm going to use 2nd finger on that half note, not 3rd finger here. So it's 3 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2, and then it come on. Now I can bring the thumb to here. So the thumb just come here, and then reach down. Thumb's busy, isn't it? And I collapse. Now I'm in this position. And then 2nd line, 2nd measure, and that's 2. 2, and then what, 4? You can do that okay, as long as you can reach it. I could also use 5 there. The problem is on the last quarter note there, I need fourth finger on that B because I got the C coming up. I'm going to connect it with the fingers. So if you can use fourth finger on the eighth note, you're in position. Here. Then reach down here, C, and stay here now because you got another. See, we're coming back and forth, and then you can collapse. And then they want you to come down here. I don't think so. I don't recommend it. I really don't. You can get away with it because when we put in the phrasing, you're going to lift up and you can move, but I want to finger in a way that I can connect everything at first if I can. So in the third line here, rather than second finger on the half note, I want to use some other fingers, so I'm reserving second finger for the eighth note coming up. Which finger I use doesn't really matter. I can use 3 here because I can reach down and get second finger. That's fine. Or I can use 4, scrunch up and use 4. Now I'm in position I'm in this position. So I'm going to recommend fourth finger on the G. So again, starting on the third line, we're here, and 2 and 4, there. And reach up to the collapse, and again, 4. Because it's the same kind of passage. And you can use 3 if you want, but I'm gonna go ahead and use 2, just like I did on the line above. And then I'll scrunch up and use 4 again. I keep moving around here. Not my fault, the notes are doing it. So again, the last line is here, and then 4 again, and then 2 again, and then now scrunch up again, a 4. We're moving around here. This is good. It would be nice eventually if you could get to the point where you could actually play this without looking at the keyboard, where you're feeling these distances where you're stretching out and moving. Yeah, so you get a feel of the keyboard and where the keys are. Left hand, well, the left hand's got a bunch of chords. You got down here, C here. Actually, this is a broken chord on a C chord. You take all 3 of those notes together. That's a C chord. Only we're not playing all 3 notes together. That makes it a broken C chord. So remember blocked and broken? Blocked is when they're together. And broken is anything else. Well, this is anything else. So. During the rest, I'm just going to come up here and do 2-1. You don't have to. You have a rest. You can go ahead and come on up here if you want. And it doesn't matter which fingers you use to play the B and the G and the B, because those are the only, if you look ahead, those are the only notes we're going to play here until the end of the second line. We come back down. So I think I'm basically just going to stay here, and I'm just going to kind of come up here, just maybe one key up. I'm going to use 2 and 1 here on all of those, because I'm staying close for where I was in the last major second line. I come back down here. I can actually reach down. Then in the third line, just you stay where you are, just come up the thumb, and then the third finger's there, and then come back up 2 and 1 like we did on the second line. And now for the last measure, that third line, there's no rest or anything, and the second finger's playing G, so I'm going to go ahead and use second finger again. Just make sure the thumb's on C. So I'm in this position, really. So it's during the rest, then I can come back down to hit 2, and 3, 1. Now, the last 2 measures, there's no real comfortable way of doing this, so then you have choices. You can hear, again, I like to connect them. So I'm going to 2, 1, then a 3, and then I just bring the little finger down. It's a little awkward. That's awkward. That takes practice, but if you will work on these awkward things, it will help your piano playing. It really will. So I'm going to go 5 and 4, and then you have to reach up and come down. For the last, that's a C. You just got to reach up and move. If you don't want to do that, then you're pretty much stuck moving here. And you can move down here. I can move here. I mean, I can move all the way down to 2 and 1 here. And the reason for that is because now I'm closer to that C coming up. I'm preparing that. See, there's different options and you have to decide. I'm going to recommend that in the last measure you do a 5 and 4 on that. So I'm here, and then lift up and move. So we put the hands together and hope for the best. Right there, got that? Now that is a dotted half note in the left hand there. There's no rest. Connect. You get the idea. You put the hands together. Then go back through the hard parts, where you're struggling with it, and go over those parts and get rid of any hesitations there. See, the idea as the music is getting more involved and more difficult is you can't afford to just keep playing through it every time. You need to go through and figure out where the hard parts is, where you're really struggling, and you just focus on those parts and really get those parts. Go over those parts over and over and over. Forget the rest of it for now. You get those ironed out. Then you can go back and see how it's going, play it through, and see if you're struggling anywhere. If you are, well, then focus on those parts and get those worked out. And then you can go back and try it all again and see. So you just keep focusing most of your time on the hard parts, not on the whole thing. Different people practice differently, and you'll develop your system for doing it, but I found that to be the most efficient, because then I'm not wasting time playing through the easy parts that I can play. I'm using my time on the hard parts. Now once you have the notes and the rhythms, and get rid of the hesitations, then we'll think about the articulation, which they don't give you any. So we'll leave articulation alone. Just connect everything as best you can. I'll come back and talk more about it when I get into the interpretive side. Then the dynamics. Well, there's a P at the beginning, and the P is closer to the bottom staff, but that's not important. The words are in the way. The dynamic applies to the melody wherever it is, and in this case it's the right hand. P for piano is soft. You'll have to decide what soft is. This left hand needs to be in the background. Keep it out of the way. You see toward the end of the first line above the staff, the hairpins. Again, they put them up there because there isn't room between the staves. The words are in the way. It doesn't matter. It applies to the dynamics. You're going to get a little louder, and then you're going to come back a little softer. And the C, that's your loudest part. You're going to moderately soft. This piece never gets loud. So you're get a little louder, and then come down. Back down to soft. Feel it if you can. And then the second line, same thing, go up. And then at the end of the second line, it's MF for mezzo forte, that's moderately loud. Now it's a little loud. So the half note's soft, and then moderately loud. And then come down, and the third line, hairpin, come down to moderately soft. Not soft, just moderately soft. And then into the third line, now you come down to soft. And go down to the last line, the hairpin, go down to very soft. See, I'm already very soft there. They say PP at the end, pianist very soft. I'm already soft. I would go down to very, very, very soft. Really soft. Because I'm soft at the beginning of the line, and that hairpin takes me down to very soft, unless there's an error in the music. The idea is the kid's falling asleep and you're getting quiet in here, and the retardante will slow down. So how soft can you play that? The left hand's got to be super soft. Then once we have all that, then we think about the interpretation. Now again, start with a natural accent. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. So at the beginning on this, Those eighth notes sound like go to here. The song is a, that makes it sound like the eighth notes are beat one. Now it's go to here. 1, 2, 3. I exaggerated so you can hear it better, but you just feel this. And then, of course, we're going to add in the phrasing. You can follow the words if you'd like. You have to kind of figure out where are the musical phrases. And if I play the melody quickly, it helps me to hear them better. You see it in the second line here? It's connected. According to the words, it's all connected. Otherwise, I would have lifted up. So I would have lifted up there because it sounds like a musical phrase. But if I follow the words, I'm going to connect it. So do you follow the words? There's no right or wrong here. It's what do you think? That's why different people would interpret something different ways, because they feel it different. I think I'm going to follow the words. If there's a comma at the beginning, lift up. Lift up. Don't lift. Now lift up. Lift up. Lift up. So I'm going to lift up with the words on that. Just like taking a breath. I didn't do the speed. Shame on me. Speed on Dante, that's just a leisurely stroll. It's the overall feel of it. 1, 2, 3. Don't let it drag. The piano, it doesn't work on piano to drag it. Huh? Please don't copy me. That's just one way of playing it. I'd play it different every time I played it. So just you get into it and you feel the music. Let's try it together very slowly to check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do any of the dynamics. I'm going to play both hands about the same. And we're going to go really slow here. Actually, we're going to go close to the speed it should go. But I'll give us 2 counts because we come in on beat 3. So I'm just going to go ready, go, and then we go. Let's try it together. Even one hand at a time if you need to. Ready and go and.